always there, whether we're happy or not. Joy is the sure and certain knowledge that something bigger and something greater than we are cares for us and loves us without condition. Joy is that thing that flows deep within us like the current on a big river. The river may be roiled up on top, but way down deep, there's a current that continues to run through and is not affected by anything on the surface. And that is joy. That is what Jesus came to bring us. And Jesus came to bring joy to all people. And that's one of the amazing elements of the story of Jesus' birth in Luke's gospel. The angel told the shepherds that they brought good news of great joy for all people. And all the people included everyone from the least, the lost, and the lonely, to those who were the most exalted with wealth, power, and position. Now, that night, when Jesus was born, there were all sorts of people around when Jesus was born. Now, Jesus was born to lower middle-class parents. Joseph was a builder, and Mary was the daughter of a family that lived in a really poor village in northern Israel. They owned no land, but Joseph did have a way to support his family. Now, Bethlehem was crowded with people from all over Israel, people whose families were descendants of King David and his many children and grandchildren. David lived at least 4 generations earlier. That should be 14 generations earlier. So that was a lot of people. And Bethlehem was crowded with people from everywhere with every sort of background and title. Jesus was born into a hodgepodge of society. What I always find fascinating is Bethlehem was only 5 miles away from King Herod's palace. Bethlehem was built in a valley, and Herod's palace was built on the top of a man-made hill. And one of Herod's balconies overlooked Bethlehem. And it's possible that the place where Jesus was born was within sight of Herod's palace. It's possible that the night Jesus was born, Herod was out looking that evening in the exact direction, and possibly even the exact place where Jesus was born. The mighty were there with a possibility of witnessing Jesus' birth. Now, the first people who came to visit Jesus were shepherds. And shepherds near the turn of the 1st century, it was not an honorable job. They were despised. They were down in their luck kind of people. Shepherds were shepherds because they simply could not find any other kind of work. Only those too young to have learned a trade, or those too old to continue plying their trade, were shepherds. And there were some who were shepherds who could choose only between begging and shepherding. If they struck out begging, then they became shepherds. Shepherds were also alcoholics and substance abusers, people who couldn't find honorable work anywhere else. In other words, being a shepherd was a job of last resort. Yet, it was the shepherds who were the first to hear the good news of great joy when the angel spoke and sang to them. In fact, the shepherds were the ones the angels told to go find and worship the new Messiah. The shepherds were the first to open their hearts to the joy from God that Jesus could bring them. All sorts of people were around when Jesus was born. Kind of like all sorts of people are here this evening to celebrate Jesus' birth. Some of us are happy tonight. Some of us not so much. But in spite of happiness or not so much happiness, Jesus was born to give us joy. That deep, down in our hearts, down in our innards kind of joy that comes from knowing God loves us exactly the way we are. Jesus came to bring that joy, the joy that is discovered when we are willing to embrace God's presence in our lives. Jesus came to bring us joy, joy that grounds us in the knowledge of God's mercy, compassion, endless forgiveness, and endless possibilities. Jesus came to offer us the joy that comes when we give ourselves to worshiping the God we know through Jesus, our Christ. Like I said, worship on Christmas Eve reminds me a little bit of that night in Bethlehem when Jesus was born. We gather as basically happy people, or wanting to get happy people, ready to sing familiar songs and light candles while we sing Silent Night. And we kind of hope and pray that that feeling, that tingling feeling that comes with that experience, lasts us a little while. We gather as people from all different places, backgrounds, and circumstances. Some of us have with more than enough, while others of us live in constant need. Some of us live with amazing excess, while others of us just don't have enough. Some of us occupy places of respect in our families, our congregations, and our communities. Some of us have the feeling we're more like shepherds. Some of us look down from places of respect and power. And some of us spend a lot of time looking up, filled with feelings of inferiority. Some of us identify as Christians, some of us as something else, while some have yet to give their hearts and their lives to a belief or a religion or a religious figure of any sort. There are just as many kinds of us here tonight as there were that night in Bethlehem when Jesus was born. And Jesus came to bring joy to all of us. Wherever we are in our lives, Jesus came to bring joy to all of us. Jesus came to bring the joy that outlasts turmoil, loss, or problems. Jesus came to bring joy that comes from admitting that there is a power greater than ourselves that loves us the way we are and loves us too much to leave us the way we are. Jesus came to bring the joy that comes with following and living his teachings, his compassion, his hopes, and his promises. Jesus came to our Christmas so that it could be far more than merry. Jesus came so that we could have a Christmas of deep-seated, everlasting, eternal joy. And friends, that joy can be ours tonight. Because Jesus, God in human form, came to live with all of us tonight. Now, I don't know if Christmas in our homes, any of our homes, will be happy this year. But whether they're happy or not so much, I pray all of our Christmases and all of our lives are filled with joy. May we have a Merry Christmas and even more, a joy-filled Christmas. Amen.
Amen.